The Fort Liberty range buzzed with anticipation, the air thick with the scent of gunpowder and Georgia heat. "Get that rusty relic off my range!" Sergeant Victor Hayes's voice thundered across the firing line, silencing the chatter of over 200 spectators, recruits, officers, and grizzled veterans alike. All eyes turned to Emily Carter, a striking woman of 35, standing resolute at lane 12. Her fair skin glowed under the morning sun, her sharp blue eyes, unwavering brown hair, pulled tight into a disciplined ponytail. Her toned frame, accentuated by a fitted uniform, spoke of strength, yet her hands trembled visibly, clutching an M4 carbine that looked like it belonged in a scrap heap. Barrel-warped stock, patched with duct tape. The crowd's laughter erupted sharp and cruel as Hayes sneered. "What's a logistics clerk doing playing soldier?" Whispers rippled through the bleachers. "She's embarrassing herself. Look at those shaking hands." Emily didn't flinch. Her gaze held a quiet fire, a mystery that made Range Officer Daniels pause. Through a slight tear in her shirt, a glimpse of black ink flashed an eagle's shadow etched across her back, hinting at a story no one there could guess. They mocked her broken rifle, her trembling hands, but they didn't know. Those hands, scarred by war, had saved lives in places that didn't exist on any map. As the laughter grew louder, Emily adjusted her grip, her fingers finding a strange precision. What was she doing here, daring to stand among elite warriors? They had no idea what those trembling hands were about to unleash. In the quiet hum of Fort Liberty's logistics warehouse, Emily Carter moved with a quiet grace that belied the tremor in her hands. At 35, she was a striking figure. Fair skin, kissed by the North Carolina sun, sharp blue eyes that seemed to see through walls, and long brown hair tied back in a disciplined ponytail. Her toned frame carried the strength of a soldier, though her fitted maintenance coveralls marked her as just another clerk in the eyes of most. Each morning, she navigated the maze of crates and Humvee parts, her fingers shaking from nerve damage, carefully adjusting a wrist brace. The device, a marvel of military-grade nerve stabilization technology, hummed softly, countering tremors up to 8 hertz, a lifeline. For a woman whose hands had once steadied sniper rifles in places no map dared name. But here, in the dim fluorescent light, those hands struggled to grip a wrench, drawing smirks from her male colleagues. "Stick to paperwork," Carter Sergeant Victor Hayes would taunt, his broad frame looming as he tossed a clipboard her way. "Women don't belong in the field." The words stung, but Emily swallowed them, her blue eyes flickering with something unspoken. Her small apartment off base was her sanctuary, though it held little warmth. A faded photograph sat on her nightstand. 5 soldiers in tactical gear, their faces blurred by time, but their bond clear in the way they leaned into each other. Operation Shadow Veil, a classified mission in Afghanistan, had taken them from her 5 years ago. She'd been the only one to walk away carrying their gear and their memory through 17 hours of hell, her body scarred by 11 bullets and shrapnel. The tremor was her constant reminder, a price paid for survival. Every night she opened a prescription bottle, her shaking fingers fumbling the cap, the experimental nerve medication dulling, but never silencing the shakes. Survivor's guilt gnawed at her, whispering that she should have died with them. She hid her past, her special ops record buried under redacted files, choosing the anonymity of logistics to blend in, to watch, to wait. In her locker, tucked behind tools, was a letter from her father, a WWII veteran, now in his late 80s, his handwriting shaky but firm. Strength comes from wounds. Emily, he'd written words forged in his own battles across Normandy's beaches. He'd taught her discipline, the kind that made her check every weapon with ritualistic precision. Brass check, trigger play. Chamber clear, even if it was just a routine maintenance task. That morning, as she cleaned a discarded M4 carbine, its barrel warped and stock cracked. Her movements echoed a past life. Each click of the bolt was a prayer, each inspection a vow to her lost team. She touched the tattoo on her back through her shirt, feeling the raised ink of the eagle's shadow. A dark eagle with 5 feathers, each bearing a name: Reynolds Baker, Chen Park Lee. Her brother's gone, but never forgotten. Hayes's voice broke her reverie as he passed by, tossing another jab. "You fixing that junk for the shooting competition? Good luck hitting anything with those shaky hands." The warehouse crew laughed, but Emily's gaze stayed steady, her fingers tracing the rifle's flaws with an intimacy only a warrior would understand. She wasn't here to prove them wrong, not yet. She'd come to Fort Liberty 3 months ago, chasing whispers of betrayal tied to Shadow Vale. Someone in the Rangers had sold her team out, and she needed answers. The Elite Marksman Challenge was her chance, a stage to draw out the truth. As she locked her tools away, a small challenge coin slipped from her pocket, an eagle clutching a rifle Ghost Unit's emblem. She clutched it, her trembling hands steady in their purpose, and whispered, "For you, my brothers." The range was calling, and Emily Carter, logistics clerk, with a warrior's heart, was ready to answer. The Elite Marksman Challenge at Fort Liberty was no ordinary event. It drew the base's finest Rangers special ops and seasoned snipers, all vying for glory, under the watchful eyes of a crowd swollen with veterans and their families. Emily Carter, her blue eyes sharp despite the tremor in her hands, stood at the registration table, her name scrawled on the roster like a quiet act of defiance. She wasn't here to win. She was here to uncover a truth buried since Operation Shadow Vale, a mission that cost her 5 teammates and left her with scars that never faded. Whispers of betrayal had followed her to Fort Liberty, pointing to the Rangers. This competition, with its spotlight and egos, was her chance to draw the traitor out. As she stepped toward the firing range, clutching a battered M4 carbine scavenged from the disposal bin, its barrel warped trigger loose. Sergeant Victor Hayes's voice cut through the air. "Fragile flower like you think she can shoot with that junk." He sneered, his Rangers squad laughing as the crowd joined in their jeers, a chorus of doubt. "Go back to your desk, Carter." The words burned, especially for the older spectators, men and women who'd seen war and knew the sting of being underestimated. Emily's toned frame stood firm, her professional stance betraying a history no one suspected. Her trembling fingers adjusted the rifle with a precision that made Range Officer Daniels pause, his weathered face creasing with curiosity. In her pocket, her phone buzzed a message from an unknown number, words that sent a chill down her spine. "The traitor's here. Watch the shadows." An old ally, perhaps, or a ghost from her past. Her heart raced, but she kept her face steady, the eagle tattoo on her back itching under her shirt. The competition rules were clear. Any rifle chambering standard NATO rounds was permitted, no matter its condition. Emily had chosen this broken M4 deliberately, a test of skill and a signal to whoever was watching. Hayes tossed her ammo box to the ground, round scattering. "Oops," he grinned, but Emily knelt calmly, collecting each bullet with care, her shaking hands moving like they'd done this in the dark of a war zone. The crowd's laughter faltered. She wasn't here to play their game. She was here to honor a vow. "You don't shoot to win," her father's words echoed. "You shoot to honor." With the coin of Ghost Unit clutched in her pocket, Emily stepped to the firing line, ready to face the challenge and the shadows hiding within it. Emily Carter stood at the edge of Fort Liberty's firing range, the weight of the broken M4 carbine heavy in her trembling hands. The crowd's mocking laughter still echoed Sergeant Victor Hayes's words. "You'll embarrass women in the military," cutting deeper than she'd admit. Her blue eyes, usually sharp as steel, clouded with doubt as her fingers shook violently, the tremor worsening under the pressure. She could feel the ghosts of Operation Shadow Vale pressing in a deafening explosion in Afghanistan flames, licking her skin, the screams of her 5 teammates fading into silence. That mission had left her with 11 scars and hands that never steadied, a constant reminder of her failure to save them. Now, standing here, the anonymous logistics clerk felt the urge to flee, to leave the elite marksman challenge and its jeering crowd behind. She took a step back, her boots crunching on gravel, ready to disappear into the safety of her quiet life. Range Officer Daniels approached, his grizzled face stern as he inspected her rifle. "This thing's a hazard, Carter," he said, eyeing the warped barrel and loose trigger. "You sure about this?" His doubt mirrored her own, and for a moment Emily's resolve crumbled. She was no longer the ghost unit leader, just a woman with broken hands and a broken past. But as she turned to leave, her fingers brushed the challenge coin in her pocket, its eagle emblem cold against her skin. The tattoo on her back, the eagle's shadow with 5 feathers. Reynolds, Baker, Chen Park. Lee burned like a vow. She closed her eyes, whispering a prayer for her fallen brothers, their faces vivid in her mind. Warriors don't quit. Her father's voice echoed, a WWII veteran who'd faced his own hell. They adapt. Her trembling hand tightened on the rifle. She wasn't here for glory or to prove Hayes wrong. She was here for justice, for the truth about the betrayal that took her team. With a deep breath, Emily turned back to the firing line, her blue eyes blazing once more. The range was no longer just a competition, it was her battlefield, and she would not run. As Emily Carter turned back to the firing line at Fort Liberty, her trembling hands gripping the broken M4, a young voice cut through the lingering mockery. "Don't listen to them, ma'am," Private Mia Lopez said, stepping forward from the equipment table. Barely 20, with wide eyes and a defiant stance, Mia had watched the exchange with growing fury. She'd been assigned to set-up duty for the elite marksman challenge, but now she planted herself between Emily and Sergeant Hayes's glaring squad. "You have every right to compete," Mia insisted, her voice steady despite Hayes's snort. "They're just scared of what a fragile flower might do." Emily met her gaze, seeing a spark of the same resilience she'd once had. Mia wasn't just an ally, she was a reminder that not everyone judged by appearances. As Hayes backed off with a grumble, Mia knelt to help gather the scattered ammo, her hands quick and sure. "I've seen tremors like yours in my uncle, a veteran." "Let me check your wrist brace," she offered, adjusting the carbon fiber device with practiced care. "This tech stabilizes nerves, but under stress, you need to sync it with your breathing. Like this." Emily nodded, grateful for the unexpected support. Back in her mind, the mysterious message the traitors here still echoed, but Mia's kindness grounded her. As the range quieted for a moment, Emily's phone vibrated in her pocket. She slipped away to a quiet corner, answering a video call from her grandmother Eleanor, an 82-year-old widow of a WWII veteran, her face lined with wisdom and warmth on the screen. "Emily, child, I felt you needed me," Eleanor said, her voice crackling with age, but firm. "What's troubling you?" Emily poured out the mockery, the doubt, her hands shaking even more as she spoke. Eleanor listened, her eyes misting. "Use your scars as armor, dear. Your grandfather wore his from the beaches of Normandy, shrapnel in his leg that never healed right. He taught your father the same." She shared stories of WWII, how her husband's unit survived betrayal by a double agent, their bonds forged in fire. Discipline isn't about steady hands, it's about a steady heart. And that neuroplasticity training, you do the electrical stimulation, rewiring your brain to compensate for the tremors. It's like how we rebuilt after the war. Pulse it with focused thoughts. Breathe through the shakes. Let your mind lead. Emily's blue eyes softened, touching the challenge coin in her pocket. But Eleanor's voice grew grave. "There's something I never told you. Your father was betrayed, once too in Korea, by someone in his own ranks. It nearly broke him." Watch for those shadows, Emily. Enemies within are the deadliest. The revelation hit like a bullet, hinting at patterns of betrayal echoing through generations. Emily felt a surge of trust in Mia's youthful fire, in her grandmother's timeless wisdom. They weren't just guiding her, they were arming her soul. With the wrist brace recalibrated and her heart fortified, Emily returned to the line, Mia at her side. The range was waiting, and so was the truth. Emily Carter stepped onto the firing line at Fort Liberty, the weight of her grandmother's words. Use your scars as armor, steadying her trembling hands. The Elite Marksman Challenge was no longer just a competition. It was her battlefield, where truth and justice for her fallen Ghost Unit teammates hung in the balance. The crowd's jeers still lingered, but as she settled into her lane, clutching the broken M4 carbine, its warped barrel and loose trigger. A mockery of her resolve, their voices began to fade. Her blue eyes narrowed, scanning the 100-meter target with a focus that silenced the noise. Private Mia Lopez stood nearby, her young face fierce with support, while Sergeant Victor Hayes leaned in smirking. "Careful, fragile flower," he taunted, deliberately kicking her ammo box, sending NATO rounds scattering across the concrete. "Wouldn't want you to hurt yourself." The crowd gasped, the older veterans among them frowning at the injustice their own memories of sacrifice stirred. Emily knelt, her shaking hands, collecting each bullet with deliberate care, checking for flaws with a precision that made Range Officer Daniels raise an eyebrow. She wasn't just gathering ammo, she was preparing for war. As she loaded the magazine, her wrist brace hummed, syncing with her measured breaths, a testament to neuroplasticity training that rewired her damaged nerves. "Armor up and fire true," Mia whispered, echoing her grandmother's wisdom. The range went hot, and Emily took her stance, not the standard prone position, but a field-expedient setup, her pack and mat compensating for the rifle's flaws. The crowd held its breath as she fired her first shot. The electronic scoring system pinged a perfect 10-ring dead center. Murmurs rippled through the stands. Luck Hayes scoffed, but his voice wavered. With a broken gun and trembling hands, Emily had done the impossible. Who was she? The question hung in the air, her eagle tattoo itching beneath her shirt, as if her fallen teammates were watching. Each shot was a vow, each tremor a defiance. She wasn't broken. She was precise, and the range was about to learn what that meant. Emily Carter stood firm at Fort Liberty's firing line, the echo of her first perfect 10-ring shot still rippling through the crowd. The Elite Marksman Challenge was heating up, and the air crackled with tension as the rapid-fire round loomed. Her trembling hand, steadied by the humming wrist brace, clutched the broken M4 carbine, its warped barrel and loose trigger a defiance of the odds. The crowd, once loud with mockery, now watched with a mix of curiosity and unease. Private Mia Lopez stood by her side, her young face fierce with loyalty. "You've got this, ma'am." Mia whispered, her hand steady as she handed Emily a fresh magazine. Colonel Elias Grant, a grizzled senior officer with decades on the range, observed from the platform, his eyes narrowing as he recognized the precision in Emily's stance, a ghost of something he'd seen in classified missions long ago. But Sergeant Victor Hayes and his squad weren't done. "Let's see the fragile flower wilt under pressure," Hayes sneered, his voice carrying to the bleachers, where older veterans shifted uncomfortably, their own battles with bias stirred. The rapid-fire round demanded 30 rounds in 30 seconds, with mandatory magazine changes, testing speed and accuracy. The targets 50, 100, and 150 meters popped up unpredictably, forcing shooters to balance haste with precision. Hayes and his Rangers fired in controlled pairs, their shots ringing out like clockwork, each hit a testament to their training. Emily's approach was different. Her trembling hands moved in a strange dance, syncing with her heartbeat, the wrist brace compensating for a 3.7-inch drift caused by the warped barrel. She fired in flowing streams, not pairs. Each shot deliberate, as if guided by muscle memory forged in chaos. Her first magazine emptied in 10 seconds, the change so swift, the empty clip barely hit the ground, before the next was seated. The crowd gasped as the electronic scoring system lit up 30 hits, 30 perfect, each shot landing in devastating patterns, headshots, at 50 meters center mass, at 100 pelvis, at 150. Hayes's smirk faded. "Luck," he muttered, but his voice lacked conviction. As the round ended, Corporal Alex Kane, Hayes's weapons specialist, stepped closer, his eyes glinting with something unsettling. "Nice shooting, Carter," he said too smoothly. "Reminds me of a story I heard Shadow Vale, wasn't it?" Heard the team leader was a crack shot. Emily's blood ran cold. Shadow Vale was classified, buried under redacted files. How did Kane know? Was he probing, or was this the traitor's slip? Her fingers tightened on the challenge coin in her pocket, the eagle's weight grounding her. Mia noticed the exchange, her brow furrowing. "He's up to something," she whispered, her loyalty unwavering. Emily nodded, her blue eyes scanning Kane's face for truth. The crowd, now silent, sensed something shifting, the older spectators leaning forward, their instincts honed by years of war stories. The next challenge, moving targets, upped the stakes. Targets slid along rails at varying speeds, mimicking combat threats. Emily's tremors worsened under the strain, her hands shaking as she adjusted her stance. Kane, seizing the moment, tampered with the scoring system, nudging a cable loose to skew Emily's results. "Let's see how she does when the tech fails," he muttered to Hayes, who grinned. But Mia caught the sabotage, her sharp eyes spotting the tampered wire. "Ma'am, they're cheating," she hissed, slipping Emily a spare tool to fix it. Emily's heart pounded, not just from the competition, but from the growing certainty that Kane was tied to the betrayal that killed her team. She recalibrated the system herself, her trembling fingers moving with surgical precision, a skill learned in war zones, where every second counted. As the moving targets began, Emily's shots were unlike any other. She didn't track the targets like the Rangers. She predicted their paths, firing into empty space where the targets would be. At 75 meters, a target darted left. She fired once, and it dropped center mass. At 150 meters, another zipped past a barrier. She shot through a narrow gap, hitting the mark. The crowd's silence turned to murmurs of awe. Colonel Grant pulled out his binoculars, focusing on Emily's hands. "She's compensating for the barrel warp in real time," he muttered, his voice tinged with disbelief. "That's not training, that's art. The electronic system confirmed it, every shot, perfect, defying the broken rifle and her damaged nerves." The veterans in the crowd, many with their own scars, felt a stir of pride, recognizing a warrior who'd fought battles they could only imagine. But the internal conflict gnawed at Emily. Each shot brought back flashes of Shadow Vale explosions, screams, the weight of her teammates' gear as she dragged them to safety. Her tremors spiked, threatening to unravel her focus. During a brief pause, Mia knelt beside her, her voice soft but firm. "My uncle, he was a Vietnam vet. People called him weak because of his PTSD. But he taught me strength isn't about looking tough, it's about showing up." Emily's eyes softened, meeting Mia's. "Your uncle sounds like my team," she said quietly. "They died so others could live. I'm here for them." The moment was a balm, a reminder of why she fought, not just for justice, but for those who'd been underestimated, like Mia's uncle, like her. Kane's taunts grew sharper as the round ended. "You think you're some kind of hero, Carter Shadow." Vale was a failure, everyone knows it. His words were a calculated jab, misdirecting the crowd to see him as knowledgeable, not guilty. But Emily caught the glint in his eyes, the same glint she'd seen in her grandmother's stories of betrayal in WWII. She didn't respond, letting him think he'd rattled her. Instead, she adjusted her wrist brace, syncing it with her, breathing the neuroplasticity training, turning her tremors into a rhythm she could control. The crowd watched, no longer laughing, but captivated, sensing a story unfolding beyond the range. Colonel Grant sent a quick text to an old contact ghost pattern at Liberty. "Confirm now." The response was immediate, urgent, hinting at secrets buried deep. Emily fired her final shot, another perfect hit, and set her rifle down. The crowd erupted in cautious applause, but Hayes and Kane exchanged glances, their confidence cracking. Emily wasn't just a clerk, she was a force, and the truth was closing in. The Fort Liberty range fell into a tense hush as the final challenge approached the drone targets, round a grueling test of skill that separated warriors from pretenders. Emily Carter lowered her broken M4 after her flawless moving targets performance, her blue eyes steady, but her hands trembling more fiercely now, the wrist brace straining against the mounting stress. The crowd, once a chorus of mockery, now watched with bated breath, their applause from the last round fading into anticipation. 5 small quadcopters, military-grade UAVs designed for evasive maneuvers, lifted off with a mechanical whine. These weren't simple targets. They zipped at 40 miles per hour, diving and climbing in 3 dimensions their small size, and random patterns mimicking real combat threats. Developed for special ops training, the drone's high-speed cameras and AI evasion tech made hitting even one a feat most shooters managed, 3 at best, and that with perfect rifles. Emily's heart pounded as she reloaded, but the tremors spiked her fingers, fumbling the magazine. A wave of flashbacks crashed over her Operation Shadow Veil's final moments in Afghanistan, the ambush that stole her 5 teammates. She saw Reynolds fall first, his laugh silenced by gunfire, Baker clutching his wound, whispering, "Get them home." Chen Park and Lee scattered in the dust as explosions rocked the valley. She'd fought alone for 17 hours, dragging their bodies through hell, her own wounds burning. The guilt surged, whispering she should have died with them. Her knees buckled slightly, the range blurring as extreme tremors threatened to unravel her. Resilience isn't avoiding the storm, her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind. It's flying through it, but under this pressure, even her neuroplasticity training faltered the electrical stimulation in her brace, struggling to compensate. From the observation platform, Colonel Elias Grant watched intently, his veteran instincts prickling. He pulled out his tablet, accessing Emily's personnel file. Redacted lines jumped out, years of service gaps, classified deployments, a hint of ghost unit buried in code. "Who are you, Carter?" he murmured, texting a secure contact. Redacted record at Liberty. Ghost pattern confirmed. The mystery deepened, Grant's face paling as responses flooded in, suggesting Emily was no ordinary clerk. But Corporal Alex Kane wasn't idle. Seizing the moment, he slinked near Emily's bench during the setup, his fingers subtly loosening a screw on her rifle's trigger assembly. "Let's see how she shoots now," he whispered to Hayes, who nodded with a cruel grin. The sabotage was meant to be invisible, ensuring her failure. But Emily, her senses honed by war, detected the faint click. Her blue eyes flashed as she inspected the rifle, her trembling hands tracing the flaw. "They're playing dirty," she whispered to Mia, who gasped, her loyalty igniting outrage. The crowd witnessing Kane's furtive move erupted in murmurs of discontent, the older veterans especially, their faces hardening at the injustice. "That's not right," one grizzled spectator muttered, his own wartime betrayals resurfacing. The air thickened with strong emotions, a collective sense of wrongness that turned the range into a crucible of truth. Emily tightened the screw with deliberate calm, her extreme tremors, a barrier she refused to let win. Drawing on life skills forged in pressure, deep breaths syncing with her brace mind overriding muscle, she shouldered the rifle. The drones launched, weaving erratically. This was the inmost cave, the heart of her mission, not just to hit targets, but to expose the shadows within. With Mia's encouragement and Grant's watchful eye, Emily fired her shots, predictive and precise, turning resilience into victory. The crowd's outrage shifted to hope, but the real battle was just beginning. The Fort Liberty range pulsed with tension as the drone round's victory still hung in the air, Emily Carter's perfect shots silencing the once mocking crowd. Her trembling hands, steadied by the humming wrist brace, set the broken M4 down. But the real battle was brewing. Sergeant Victor Hayes, his pride wounded by her performance, stepped forward. His 6'3" frame towering over her 5'4" figure. "Think you're a hero, Carter," he growled, his voice loud enough for the bleachers to hear. "Let's see how you fare without that junk rifle. Hand to hand right now." The crowd stirred uneasily, the older veterans among them sensing a line crossed from competition to cruelty. Range Officer Daniels protested. "This isn't in the rules," but Hayes cut him off. "Just a friendly demo for morale," he sneered, stripping to his t-shirt, his ranger tattoos flexing. Unless the fragile flowers scared. Emily's blue eyes met his, not with fear, but with a predator's calm, assessing if he was worth the effort. "If you need this, Sergeant," she said softly, setting her rifle down with care. "I'll oblige." The crowd cleared a space, their phones out, no longer mocking but riveted. Emily removed her maintenance jacket, revealing a plain brown t-shirt, her toned frame radiating quiet strength. Hayes charged a bull rush, meant to overwhelm with sheer size, a tactic he'd used to crush countless opponents. Emily sidestepped at the last second, her trembling hands guiding his elbow, just enough to send him stumbling. He recovered, swinging a roundhouse punch that could have felled a tree. Emily ducked her movement economical, letting the fist whistle over her head. "Stop dancing, Carter." Hayes snarled, embarrassment fueling his next attack, a flurry of jabs and crosses using his reach. Emily circled her footwork, flawless despite the tremors, each step a testament to military jiu-jitsu honed in war zones. Then Hayes got lucky, or so he thought. A feinted jab set up a grab for her shirt, his fingers catching the collar. With a violent yank, the fabric tore, a ripping sound echoing in the stunned silence. The tattoo revealed was breathtaking, a massive black eagle wings spread across Emily's back, its shadowed form clutching a sniper rifle. 5 feathers each, etched with a name: Reynolds Baker, Chen Park Lee. Below, in stark military font, Eagle's shadow, never forgotten. The crowd gasped, veterans snapping to attention involuntarily. Colonel Elias Grant's face went white, his tablet slipping as he whispered, "Ghost Leader." The words rippled through the stands, a legend come to life. Ghost Unit, a myth in special ops operators who took missions that didn't exist with a perfect record until Operation Shadow Veil's betrayal. Emily stood still, the torn shirt hanging her trembling hands unashamed. Hayes froze, his grip slack, his bravado crumbling as he realized who he'd mocked. But the true shock came from Corporal Alex Kane. "You," he stammered, stepping forward, his earlier taunts about Shadow Veil now a glaring mistake. "You're supposed to be dead." His voice betrayed panic, and Emily's eyes locked on him. For 3 months, she'd worked in logistics, watching, waiting, piecing together clues from that cryptic message. "The traitor's here." Kane's slip confirmed it. He knew too much details only a traitor could access. "I'm just a clerk now," Emily said quietly, but her tone carried steel. Grant stepped forward, his voice formal. "Master Sergeant Emily Carter, Ghost Unit Leader, Operation Shadow Veil, 134, Confirmed kills, 19 deployments medals buried so deep they don't exist. 5 years ago, you saved Hayes' unit by taking a mission that cost your team. Betrayed by bad intel. The crowd froze, phones forgotten. Grant turned to Hayes. Your predecessors lived because she carried 200 pounds of their remains through 17 hours of hell, shot 11 times. Hayes fell to his knees, his face crumpling. Kane, desperate, lunged for his sidearm, but Emily moved faster, her trembling hand pinning his wrist, keeping the weapon holstered. "Don't," she said, her voice low but final. "It won't change what you did." Captain Laura Bennett, a JAG officer in the crowd, stepped forward, her insignia gleaming. "Corporal Kane, Sergeant Hayes, you're under arrest for espionage, conspiracy, and treason, resulting in the deaths of Ghost Unit." Financial records, she revealed, showed payments to Kane and Hayes 5 years ago, tied to encrypted comms that betrayed Shadow Vale's location. Emily's 3-month investigation had led here her presence in the competition, a trap to expose them. Kane broke down, babbling about debts. Hayes was silent, tears streaming. The crowd's outrage turned to awe as the drone operators signaled the final round. Emily, in Maya's borrowed jacket, picked up her broken M4. The 5 drones launched, zigzagging at 40 miles per hour, their AI evasion patterns, a nightmare for even the best snipers. Emily stood freely, no longer using supports, her trembling hands steady in their purpose. Her first shot shattered a drone mid-dive. The second caught one behind a barrier. The third and fourth crossed paths. She fired twice so fast, it sounded like one both falling. The fifth, climbing high, exploded in a puff of plastic. Time 10.2 seconds. All 5 destroyed. The crowd erupted, veterans saluting their cheers, a sweet resolution to the morning's injustice. Emily lowered her rifle, her blue eyes meeting Mia's. For them, she whispered, touching the challenge coin. The truth was, out the traitors exposed, and her team's honor restored. The Fort Liberty range stood still, the echo of shattered drones and the weight of revealed truth settling over the crowd. Emily Carter lowered her broken M4, her trembling hands steady in their purpose. The eagle's shadow tattoo still vivid in everyone's minds. Colonel Elias Grant stepped forward, his weathered face solemn as he addressed the crowd, his voice carrying the weight of command. "Master Sergeant Emily Carter," he declared, Ghost Unit leader, who saved a Ranger unit 5 years ago at the cost of her team and her own body. Today she's honored her fallen brothers and exposed betrayal. The crowd erupted in applause, the older veterans saluting, their eyes misty with recognition of a warrior's sacrifice. Phones once raised to mock, now captured a hero's moment. Their respect, a stark contrast to the morning's jeers. Captain Laura Bennett led the arrest of Corporal Alex Kane and Sergeant Victor Hayes, their faces pale as they were escorted away. The sting of their treason laid bare. Kane's babbling excuses faded under the crowd's gaze, while Hayes, still on his knees, looked up at Emily with tears streaming. "I didn't know he choked out his bravado gone." Emily met his gaze, her blue eyes soft but unyielding. "You didn't need to know," she said quietly. "You just needed to respect what you saw." Her forgiveness, born of a warrior's compassion, touched the hearts of the veterans who knew the cost of carrying scars. Private Mia Lopez, tears in her eyes, handed Emily a small medal from Grant, a unit commendation for extraordinary valor. For them, Mia whispered, echoing Emily's vow. Emily clutched the medal, her trembling fingers tracing the eagle emblem, feeling her team's presence. This victory wasn't just about justice, it was about overcoming identity. Emily, the logistics clerk, dismissed as weak, had proven women could be warriors, their strength forged in resilience, not size. The crowd's cheers, led by those who'd fought in wars past, affirmed her place among them. As she stood, the challenge coin in her pocket felt lighter, Her grandmother's words, "Use your scars," as armor made her voice ringing true. She'd seized the sword of truth not for glory, but for her brothers, and in doing so, inspired every soul watching. The cheers of the Fort Liberty crowd still echoed as Emily Carter walked away from the range, the weight of the newly awarded medal heavy in her pocket, its eagle emblem a twin to the challenge coin she carried. Her trembling hands scarred by the battles of Operation Shadow. Veil felt lighter, as if the truth about her team's betrayal had lifted a burden. The eagle's shadow tattoo on her back no longer burned with guilt, but glowed with quiet pride for her fallen brothers, Reynolds, Baker, Chen Park Lee. She returned to the logistics warehouse, slipping back into her maintenance coveralls, her blue eyes scanning the familiar stacks of crates. The hum of routine checking Humvee parts, signing forms, was a comfort, a chance to rest after exposing Hayes and Kane as traitors. Yet her heart wasn't settled. The victory was sweet, but the cost of her scars, the 11 bullet wounds and endless nightmares, whispered of a life that could never fully return to normal. As she locked her tools away, Private Mia Lopez appeared, her young face glowing with admiration. Ma'am, Mia said, hesitating. "I didn't tell you before, but my grandfather was a Vietnam vet. He carried tremors like yours, fought to be seen as more than his scars. I want to follow you, learn from you." The revelation hit Emily like a soft wave, her grandmother's words. "Use your scars as armor," echoing in Mia's courage. Emily smiled, her trembling hand resting on Mia's shoulder. "Your grandfather would be proud," she said, handing Mia the challenge coin, its eagle catching the light. "This isn't about following me. It's about finding your own fight." Mia clutched the coin, tears brimming a bond forged between two women across generations. Back in her small apartment, Emily sat alone, the medal on her nightstand, beside the faded photo of her Ghost Unit team. Her phone buzzed, an unknown number flashing. The message was stark. "Park's alive. Vienna needs you. G4, Park, Ghost." 4. The demolitions expert presumed dead in Shadowvale's ambush. Her hands shook, not just from nerve damage, but from hope and fear. A new mission loomed, pulling her between the rest she craved and the call of her surviving brother. Her neuroplasticity training, the electrical stimulation that helped elderly veterans like her father rewire their brains, had taught her resilience wasn't just surviving, it was choosing to fight again. Honor isn't in medals, her grandmother had said, it's in truth. Emily deleted the message, but her blue eyes burned with resolve. She wasn't done. The warehouse awaited her tomorrow, but Vienna called tonight, and a warrior's heart never truly rested. The Fort Liberty warehouse felt different now, the cheers of the range a distant memory, as Emily Carter hung her maintenance jacket in her locker. The medal from Colonel Grant gleamed on her shelf, a symbol of justice served, but her trembling hands reminded her that some wounds never fully healed. Sergeant Victor Hayes appeared at her door. His once arrogant frame hunched, his eyes red from remorse. He fell to his knees, the mighty ranger reduced to a man facing his shame. "I was wrong, Master Sergeant," he whispered, his voice breaking. "We mocked you, your scars, your strength. God, we didn't know." Emily's blue eyes met his soft with understanding. "You do, now," she said. "And that's enough." Hayes nodded, rising slowly. "The unit's changing, respect for all, no more biases. Women like you, you're the real warriors." Word spread fast. The Rangers adopted new protocols honoring differences, a quiet revolution born from one woman's stand. The base buzzed with stories of equality, veterans sharing tales of their own overlooked battles, affirming that justice wasn't just punishment, it was growth. But as Emily sat alone in her apartment, the faded photo of her Ghost Unit team staring back, her phone buzzed again. The message from the unknown number, "Park's alive. Global betrayal network exposed." Join us in Vienna. Your family needs you. G4. Park thought dead in Shadow Vale's ambush, his body identified by fragments alone. Emily's hands shook violently, not from nerve damage, but from a surge of hope. She'd mourned him, carried his memory like a weight. Now he was inviting her to a new mission, dismantling an international ring of traitors, surpassing the internal system that had failed them. The explosion hit years of hiding of logistics, anonymity shattered by this call to fly again. She wasn't just surviving, she was surpassing her broken wings, ready to soar. In the dim light, Emily pulled out a worn letter from her father, the WWII veteran, whose handwriting trembled like hers. Broken wings still soar, Emily, he'd written words from a man who'd rebuilt after Normandy's horrors. Your scars are your flight. Tears welled as she traced the lines, feeling his presence, his lessons of resilience echoing through generations. This wasn't just her fight. It was for every overlooked warrior, every woman dismissed, every veteran carrying invisible wounds. Justice and equality weren't ideals. They were actions, choices to rise despite the breaks. Emily typed her response, when the answer came, swift. Soon. Heal first, then we fly. She deleted it, but a smile touched her lips. The mission wasn't over. It was evolving. Tomorrow she'd fix Humvees, but Vienna awaited a chance to save her family again. In that moment, she overcame not just biases, but her own limits, affirming that strong women didn't just endure, they led. Emily Carter stepped into her small apartment at Fort Liberty, the hum of the base's night training helicopters, a familiar lullaby. The medal from Colonel Grant rested on her nightstand, beside the faded photo of her Ghost Unit team. Reynolds, Baker, Chen, Park, Lee, their faces etched in her heart. Her trembling hand, still pulsing with the rhythm of nerve damage, traced the eagle tattoo through her shirt. The eagle's shadow, a map of sacrifice and strength. She was back to her logistics life, fixing Humvees and filing reports. But the truth she'd uncovered at the Elite Marksman Challenge had changed everything. The traitors Hayes and Kane faced justice, and her team's honor was restored. Yet Park's message, "Vienna needs you," lingered like a promise, an open-ended call that ghosts never die, only evolve. Emily smiled, her blue eyes reflecting the base lights, like stars, knowing her mission wasn't over, just shifting form. Private Mia Lopez, now carrying the challenge coin Emily had given her, became a spark in the unit. Inspired by Emily's stand, Mia shared her story with recruits, her voice fierce as she spoke of her Vietnam vet grandfather and Emily's resilience. Strength isn't in steady hands, she told them. It's in scars that keep fighting. Her words caught fire, spreading beyond Fort Liberty, when a video from another Ranger, Madison Hayes, no relation to Victor, went viral. Madison, her face puffy with regret, spoke to her thousands of followers. "I mocked a hero today, a woman who carried her team home. Real strength is enduring, not swagger. We need to do better." The video exploded, shared by veterans and families, sparking discussions about respecting the overlooked, the broken, the women who served. Older Americans especially shared it, their own wartime memories stirred, affirming Emily's fight wasn't hers alone. Emily's father's letter, its WWII wisdom. Broken wings still soar sat open on her table, a reminder of her family's legacy. Her grandmother's stories of Normandy, her father's survival in Korea, all echoed in her choice to answer Vienna's call when the time came. She wasn't just a logistics clerk or a ghost unit leader. She was a bridge between generations, proving that strength and scars could inspire change. The base, once a place of routine, now felt alive with possibility. Veterans mentoring recruits, policies shifting to honor all warriors. Emily's quiet life was her elixir, a gift of truth and resilience she carried for her team, for Mia, for every soldier underestimated. As she stood by her window, the helicopter's hum blending with her thoughts, Emily whispered to her team's photo, "It's done, but we're not finished." Her phone stayed silent, but she knew Park's call would come again. For now, she'd fix engines live, simply, and wait. Strength and scars, she murmured a quote for the ages, a call to honor the broken who still soar. To every veteran, every woman, every soul who'd been dismissed, this was their story too. If you've ever been underestimated, like and share this story. Subscribe for more about real heroes, resilient American veterans who prove that even broken wings can fly.